what you guys should see on your screen right here is our workspace. This is a blank workspace. You can see that right up here. We could also make continuous workspaces across the top. If we wanted to set up our news feed in workspace 1, our earnings calendar in workspace 2, and our watch list in workspace 4, we could do that. And we could just simply rename these if we wanted to. And what this system does is it automatically saves. So I could log out, log back in, and this would be set up the exact same way. So if I hit this X right here, I am unsaving my work. So cloud-based system, it is saving as you go. So first thing we're going to talk about is our news feed. So you guys
give it a couple of pluses too, Mike.
Absolutely.
It's a little small there for my antique eyes.
Yes, appreciate that, Brent. So you guys should see here, we have our timestamp, we have ticker symbols, and we have our headlines or stories. What this bracketed plus sign is notifying you guys of is letting you guys know there's more to the story. You'll notice here on this headline, there's no bracketed plus sign. That is all you're going to get is just this headline. Once again, bracketed plus signs drops down a little more information. No plus sign does not.
Yeah, and just to go off that real quick, Mike, so what the guys and gals on the news desk will do is we'll issue updates to our headlines. So if you see a headline that doesn't have that bracketed plus sign and you're like, hey, I know there's more information here, stay tuned. You're going to get a separate headline that will be an update. Take a look right here at the Selectis headline. So we had an initial headline here. Oh, excuse me. So look at this red Berkshire Hathaway headline. Just broke a few minutes ago. Berkshire said that they were going to file a Form 4 saying they're going to sell 7 million shares of Wells Fargo. We couldn't fit it all in one headline. We didn't feel it was as meaningless to put it in the body. We wanted to highlight it to you in a headline. So what we did here is a couple minutes later, we issued an update to that headline. And so just a little bit of insight into how the news desk is kind of using the plus sign to make a story or get a little more body in there.
Appreciate that. So, you know, if we see a red ticker, that is going to indicate to us that the change today is going to be negative for that stock. If we see a green one, we're going to notice the change today is positive. And we also have a interesting little feature here that's going to tell you the change since that article has been published. So
what would be the significance of that, I guess, Mike?
Yeah, what I found is, you know, anytime you're going to see one of these red headlines coming across, you're probably going to see a decent amount of change after that is posted. You know, what that indicates to me is how powerful that article or that news item is.
There you go, right.
Pertaining to that stock.
Cool.
So just a couple things to look at. Brent, why is Berkshire Hathaway coming through as red on our news feed?
Good question. So this is going to be probably what ends up being one of the bigger news items for the day. And as I said, it did just break. What that red highlighting there indicates, and Mike just clicked on the filters button, and you can see there's a few categories. By the way, the filters is in your top right corner there if you didn't catch that. And there's a couple, looking at the categories here, there's a couple categories that are highlighted red. The one that's going to apply to this headline is going to be hot. And so the team over on the news desk, they're watching all this news come in. They see this news item on Berkshire Hathaway, and one of us goes, wow, this is really big news. We need to alert everyone on the platform of this happening. And think about this, you know, some users might be using the platform. They might have filters on. They might have a lot going on. Their setup might make it a little bit more difficult just to digest a lot of information at once. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you a default, an automatic way where you can more easily be highlighted to important news items.
Excellent. And if you guys, so one of my, you know, I enjoy options activity. So what I usually do is I come down here, I guess I moved a little fast for you guys.
Yeah, what'd you click into there?
So right here we have our filters, and we just kind of showed you guys the different categories here. So anything that we click on our filters tab, so categories here, if we were to turn on options, we're going to turn everything else off and only see the option activity that's coming through our feed.
Okay, so click options again right now. Okay, so now we're getting everything, right? We're getting
every category coming across our news feed.
Okay, correct. And then you click options and you're only getting options, right? Okay, gotcha.
Excellent. So appreciate that. So yeah, if you wanted to turn the fire hose down, only see option activity, only see rumors, and only see trading ideas, you didn't care about analyst ratings, you didn't care about commodities, and you only cared about those three things, you could turn the fire hose down to just that, and all you're going to see is that activity coming through your news feed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you guys how you can be notified to other activity without setting up the filters. So right here is the filters button. Right above it is a cogwheel or a gear looking button. When we click that, we see a couple different setting features. So if we wanted to see the headline height adjust a little bigger, if you know,
put more space in between your headlines.
Excellent. And, you know, if you had, you know, if you wanted to see it a little bigger, that's how you would do it. If you wanted to visually change the color of different categories, I believe because I'm zoomed in so far, it's a little tougher to see, but you can see that we can change any of these categories to different colors coming through our feed. So if I wanted to turn options activity and BZ signals to green, and Brent will explain here why we would want to change both options and BZ signal to green. So if we wanted to see all the option activity and make sure we're getting alerted to it, it's coming through as green. Sorry about that. Looks like I got logged out here. So what should have happened is we see how I logged out. My settings were still saved because I did not hit the X here or I did not hit the X here. Mm-hmm. So I should have all my option activity coming through as green on my feed. Okay. So Brent, will you go ahead and tell me what BZ signals represents?
Oh, BZ signals. I love BZ signals. Okay, so quick discrepancy wanted to make here really quick, a little differentiation. So Mike is referring to, mostly Mike's been referring to categories here. When he brought BZ signals into play, he brought in like another whole sort of class of categorization you can do. And this is categorizing by source. This is where you can turn on just Benzinga headlines. This is where you can turn on press releases. This is where you can turn on SEC filings. Benzinga signals is something that our developers built. And basically what Benzinga signals is doing, what BZ signals is doing, it's some automated trigger headlines that fire into the Benzinga Pro feed. And these are going to be dramatic price action headlines if a stock spikes much higher or much lower, if a stock's halted, if there's a big block trade in the stock, if there's some automated options activity. You're going to see that here in BZ signals. Why it's important to have this stuff highlighted, I would say, so look at the screen right now. So Mike has just BZ signals on, and you're like, well, there's a lot of green here. I don't really need that. That's great. However, when you add back a couple categories here, when you add back Benzinga as a source, you can see that there's just a ton of noise going on. But Benzinga Pro is here to help you kind of filter this stuff out. The idea with highlighting over here in the settings tool a couple of categories that you really like that are really important to your trading strategy is it really stands out. So it's very hard to miss this Benzinga signals headline right here. It's very hard to miss this BZ signals here that is alerting you to, looks like Barclays in after hours action, stock moving higher. Same thing happened if we come to an options alert. Here's an option alert here. Actually, these are still Benzinga signals. You gotta scroll a little bit. Here's an option alert. So it just happens to be, you know, like the very similar color. We would probably want to do something, maybe I would make a recommendation to kind of like give a little bit of a differentiated color, so it's kind of like a little easier to stand out there. Now what you can do is, okay, so when we're looking at something like this, you're going, okay, there's headlines that are highlighted, there's some that aren't. When you see the color that you set, you know what kind of headline that's going to be. It doesn't even take really processing at all. You just see blue, options. You see green, Benzinga signals. You don't see any color, it means it's something that maybe you haven't decided you want to filter by yet.
Excellent. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off this scrolling ticker at the bottom. I believe it kind of distorts what you guys are seeing.
True, yeah.
So I just wanted to turn that off for you guys.
There you go.
And Brent,
Yes.
I received a lot of feedback when you were able to break apart how to read this option alert.
Okay.
Would you mind possibly walking us through these option
Sure.
alerts, what we should know, and what type of seriousness we should be taking some of these option alerts?
Sure. So we got a couple option alerts up here via a different source. That's a good spot to start. So what are we seeing here when we look at an option alert? I'm trying to find one really quick. Let me just scroll up here. What are we looking at when we look at an option alert coming from BZ Signals? I can't find one here very good. Let me see. I gotta find something here for you.
Should we do a keyword search?
We can do a keyword search real quick. See if you can find me one.
All right, so what we're doing right now is we are doing a keyword search, which is right up here. All I did was typed in the word alert, and it's going to pull out anything in our news feed that has the word alert in it. And since I know we're talking about option alerts,
Yep.
I figured that would be a great keyword to hone down our
Yep.
search to allow Brent to explain this.
Yeah, so some taxonomy, some similar taxonomy, some consistent labeling that the Benzinga News Desk is always using. That's why Mike was able to find this here. So a difference, you're going, okay, I'm seeing a lot of option stuff here. What's the difference between BZ Wire option alerts and BZ Signals option alerts? So if you see an option alert coming out of BZ Wire, it means that a reporter on the news desk, one of the members of the news team, thought that there was an option alert, some kind of option activity going on, notable enough that we didn't want you to have to rely on the automated Benzinga signals. We wanted to sort of like personally, hand type it out, hand deliver it to you that, hey, there's something going on here. We want to let you know this is happening. So what's kind of happening actually within the headlines here? So let's take a look at AAL here for an example. So this is a BZ Signals alert. This was automated. What we're getting shown here is it looks like these are the weekly May contracts. It looks like it's the first week of May. So each of these options headlines is going to have right after the colon, right after where it says option alert, the first thing that you're going to see is the expiration of that contract. In the case of AAL here, it looks like it's a weekly contract because there's a number back there. So I'm looking at the first week in May option contract. Always after the expiration is going to be the strike price of that issue, and that's going to be of that contract, and that's going to be $44 in the case of American here. It is a call versus a put. That's also labeled right here. And what we're looking at the back end of the headline here, what's going to be important to you is this first number is volume, and the second number here is called open interest. How you should read this. So here's what I look for when I look at these. I'm looking for options activity that is far away as far as expiration goes, meaning if somebody's making a big bet in November, for example, looking at this Maiden Holdings option alert here, somebody's making a big bet that it's going to take till about November to get this stock up to $12.50. Well, I'm going, I wonder why they bet on November. That's kind of specific to be betting on sort of thing. I'm also looking for a large ratio of volume to open interest. So what does that mean? Well, think of volume this way. It gets a heck of a lot more technical than this, but this is how I think an easy way to think about this is volume. Consider volume the activity in that contract for the current session. Open interest you want to think of as volume in that contract for all days prior. So it's basically getting back to this ratio thing. Why you should be looking for some activity that has a very wide ratio between volume and open interest is because let's jump up to this another airliner here, Spirit Air. So what's happening in the April, it looks like next week 55 calls, we're seeing volume of 2,000 versus open interest of just 351. So for some reason, whatever reason, we don't necessarily care why yet, a bidder came in and made a bet. They bought 2,000 contracts. The entire volume, the entire open interest of this contract so far has only been 351. So, what's the math there? 5, 6, 7 times volume versus open interest just today. And then kind of finishing off here, the very last little blip you'll see here, it stands for reference. And this is giving you some reference on the stock price right in the headline. So if you're saying, okay, we're looking at the Spirit $55 calls, I don't know what $55 means because I don't know what the stock's trading at. Oh, okay, the stock's trading at 54 bucks. So it gives you just a little bit of perspective there. How did that do, Mike?
Excellent. I think so. Key takeaways from looking at the Benzinga option activity is the ratio between the ask and the open interest.
Between the volume and the open interest.
There you go. The volume. Okay.
Yep.
So, when we see these numbers, what is this, about 5 to 1? Yep. That is unusual. That is unusual for that stock. And by you saying this session, that is today, correct?
That's today's session, and the sort of unusuality of it, if that's a word, is that we weren't seeing much going on in this contract. Today, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter right now, there's a ton of interest. So how you can kind of be using this is to be alerted to activity. This doesn't, the action that's happening here in the Spirit next week contract for $55 calls, we don't necessarily know why it's happening, but we just want to be alerted to activity. We just want to have things that will tip us off. Hey, I kind of, I see this option alert, I pull up the save chart, I'm looking at the chart, I kind of go, okay, this is sort of something I want to look at. Maybe it's the thing that gets some of your fundamental analysis, some of your fundamental research kicked off, if you get what I'm saying.
Excellent. I appreciate you breaking that down and really appreciate the user that dropped the question in.
Great question.
Once again, I want to tell all of you guys that are listening, this webinar is for you guys, so please, bring us more questions, and we will be sure to, adjust the presentation.
Yeah, we got a little agenda here, but if you guys bring some other stuff that is interesting, we'll definitely go over some stuff. So send in the questions.
Absolutely. All right, so we just talked about our news feed. Brent, is there anything that we missed out or any other very notable things with our news feed that we should be paying attention to?
Man, there's a lot. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton we missed. Stuff I think we should maybe go over right now. Let's see. Well, what if we go over really quick how some of this raw data, some of this raw information is coming into the feed. What we're showing you guys right now, what's on the screen right now is stuff that is, for a user who needs a little bit of help to digest the information. No problem with that. That's the majority of the users. If you're a user that is, like myself, and you're really needing a lot of kind of that raw information coming in, press releases, SEC filings, you want to turn the fire hose on to the maximum. Let me show you that really quickly. It won't take very long, but it's something that, when I've sort of revealed to a user who didn't know about it, they were blown away. They were like, wow, you can get all these press releases, you can get all these filings on here. It's really good to have a lot of this information. The kind of one disclaimer is that you got to know how to sift through it. And so what Mike just did right there is, did you turn on? You turn on just SEC filings? Nope. SEC and press releases. So yep. He went over to his filters button there. He clicked over to the sources tab, and he turned off BZ Signals, turned off Benzinga, and he just turned on SEC filings and press releases. Actually, just do press releases for right now.
Okay.
So what you're looking at here is all of the press releases that are being driven into the Benzinga system. We get press releases from PR Newswire, Globe Newswire, MarketWired. I think there's a few other ones that we get press releases from. And this is like what I'm looking at all day. So what the news desk is doing throughout the day is we're looking at as many sources as we can. Press releases, like we're looking at here, is the very top source. We get a large majority of our content directly from press releases. If you're sort of like a user who wants to be able to sift through a lot of this stuff and get a lot more information, really kind of dig in and get into the nitty gritty, this is going to be a really good solution for you. The recommendation that I would make is set this against a watch list. So our system has a really cool feature here where you can see that these are, remember, these are press releases coming right from the companies. We haven't really touched these at all yet. However, one thing we have done and helps you a ton is our system has grabbed the ticker for the company that's mentioned in a press release and tickerized it to our system. So if you have a watch list that's already set up in our system, you know, you're watching a bunch of technology stocks, you're watching Google, Apple, Amazon, etc. You can set your watch list, you can attach it to the press release feed, and then you're only going to get press releases that are attached to your watch list. Really cool feature. Something that I'm not sure everyone is going to be for everyone that's listening to the webinar, but I wanted to just really quickly kind of like touch on it.
Excellent. And why press releases are so valuable? I mean, these are most likely coming from the company directly.
They're almost always coming from the company directly.
So
yep.
It's going to have some very great information in it, but you know, like Brent said, you know, it takes a long time to understand what is noise out there yep. and what is news.
And that's what the News Desk is doing. There's, you know, we can just look at the press release feed here. We're looking at press releases, date and timestamp back to about 5 o'clock, and there's, you know, maybe 30 press releases in there since 5 o'clock. That's what the News Desk is doing. We're going through, we're reading a majority of these press releases, and we're making the decision, hey, do our users need to know about this right now?
Excellent. So they're taking all of this content, pulling out what's important, and then delivering you guys the most actionable information, what you need to know.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Only what you need to know.
Exactly. So, you know, we just took a really deep dive into the news feed.
Yep.
We have some amazing calendars. I'm going to just really quickly show you guys about the calendars because there's a new feature we just came out with, and it's inside the details. Used to be called the security feature, and I'm really excited to hear what you got to say about that, Brent.
Okay, sure.
So once again, I'm going to quickly review the calendars so we can get to the calendar setting one of two ways, by selecting it right here or by clicking it right here. What are we seeing as a default when we select the calendars?
All right, so what we're seeing here is it looks like our calendar is sorted by pre-market, post-market. So it is the column that's listed market. You can see it's being sorted chronologically, I believe how that goes. So you're going to get your pre-market earnings here first. You're going to get your after-hours earnings listed here. And what the earnings calendar is basically a preview, A, if the earnings report hasn't happened yet, or B, if the earnings report has already happened, you're looking at a very visual way to get a lot of information. So imagine, how many do we have here? We have 8, 10, let's say we got 10 earnings reports here. So kind of, you know, in your head, sort of think about how these headlines would look in the Benzinga Pro feed, how much sort of space they would take up, versus looking at it in a more visual way here on the calendar. And so what's kind of cool here is, you know, we have, just to keep going down the list from left to right, you know, you get your ticker here, you got the period, is it Q1, Q2, Q3, that kind of thing. This stands for earnings per share. This is how much the company profited or lost on a per share basis. The next column is earnings per share estimate. This is what the analysts have been expecting. So the top one there is SJR, Shaw Communications. Company reported 23 cents. Analysts, a pool of analysts, let's say there's 10 analysts that cover Shaw. They're making models, fundamental models, discounted cash flow models about what they expect Shaw to earn. And that group, that consensus, averaged out to about 22 cents. So it looks like Shaw actually beat that estimate by about 1 penny. That, generally speaking, should be good news for Shaw. Kind of to throw it back the other direction, however, let's jump over to the sales figure here, the revenue figure. It's just abbreviated REV in the calendar. Company reported about $780 million in sales. However, analysts were looking for about up to about 992 million. So while on the bottom line figure, Shaw beat by about 4 or 5%, on the top line figure, the sales figure, they missed by about 1%. So, you know, I'd probably call this result mixed. I'd say Shaw probably posted some mixed results.
Excellent. And we know that that came out in the pre-market,
Yep.
and we can see that it looks like Shaw did not have the best day.
Nope.
We could, you know, check that out by just clicking the ticker.
It only goes down how do I even say that? 0.3%. That was nothing.
Yep, not much. So, but it did indicate us that it did, you know, trend down for the day. You know, so quick, easy way to jump from earnings calendar to taking a deeper dive into the stock. So what we see here, we're going to be diving into this. This is our details feature, and we will be looking into that here in a second. One thing I did want to point out to you guys, though, is we could see tomorrow's earnings by simply clicking tomorrow, and we could also see the next week of earnings if we wanted, or even, you know, go ahead even further by selecting date ranges. And here we see all the different earnings, the date stamp right here, and just a really easy way to digest and be able to see all the different earnings reports. One thing I want you guys to know, our default screen for calendars. So once again, we're here on calendars. Default is going to be today's earnings. By clicking the word earnings, you're going to see about 11 different calendars that come with the Benzinga Pro platform. So if you wanted to see if you know, analyst ratings, if you wanted to see any analyst ratings that came out today, here's what, you know, we cover any ratings change that it is published. You will be able to find it right here on the platform. If we wanted to jump to a particular stock, such as Facebook, we could just type in ticker symbol. We see we have it selected right up here, and we see the entire history of the company ratings for Facebook. If we wanted to jump now back over to earnings of Facebook, we could see that we'll have the next projected earnings date right here. So we know if we're a holder of Facebook, that coming up the week of May 3rd is going to be a very important time to see and pay attention to the news that is circulating about Facebook. Before we dive into the details tab, Brent, is there anything you'd like to add with the calendars and things that you feel add a lot of value to your day-to-day?
I mean, I think you just demonstrated it pretty well there. You know, I hadn't remembered when Facebook was going to be reporting their next, Q1 results. But just really quickly jumping over the calendar, taking a glance at the history of the Facebook, I'm you know, revealed that it's going to be the first week of May. So I think you did a good job there, Mike.
Excellent. All right, Brent. The newest feature we just launched on our platform is this details widget. But when you select it, it looks the exact same as it used to. Brent, what is so different?
All right, so this is pretty darn exciting. So the thing that changed, and there's, you know, a whole lot that goes into behind the scenes as far as how we made this happen. The big change you can see here is the addition of this little important word here, which is search by symbol, security, name, or fund. So what we just unveiled, I think it was today or yesterday, is what we're branding so far, fund holdings. So what you can see here is, let's try, see if we can be relevant here. I'm going to pull up Berkshire Hathaway. So that's the stock. That's not the one we want. I'm kind of, look at here, it's prompting me. It's giving me, it's saying symbol, this is the right one, if you're looking for the symbol. But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the fund here. So it's prompting with funds. So let's click this one. So this is Warren Buffett's, it's not a hedge fund. I'd call it more of a conglomerate. He owns a ton of things, infrastructure. He's gotten big into the airlines in the last few quarters. We just seen the headline on Wells Fargo. So if I wanted a little perspective here on Wells Fargo, let's see if we can do this really quickly. So I'm just going off the cuff here. I'm going to open another workspace really quickly. I am going to open a new sheet. I'm going to search by Wells Fargo, see if we can make some sense of this. The headline reads, Berkshire Hathaway issues press release highlighting the intent to file Form 4 related to the sale of about 7 million shares of Wells Fargo. I see that headline and I'm going, It's a great news item, but I don't really know what it means because I don't really know, what size is that? What does 7 million shares mean to Warren Buffett? It probably doesn't mean a whole ton, but to the investor, it might mean a lot. So I'm going to jump back. Now that I know the size of their sale that's going to be disclosed today, mind you, that press release also said that they expect to sell another about 2 million shares in the near future. I still don't know sort of like the perspective. So let's say let's say Berkshire is going to sell about 9 million shares in Wells Fargo over the next month or so. What does that mean? So jumping back over to my fund holdings really quickly, I'm looking at Berkshire Hathaway. This is Warren Buffett's holdings. I'm seeing that he right now owns about 256 million shares of Wells Fargo.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. So if I'm a Wells Fargo shareholder, maybe I see this headline and I go, oh my gosh, Warren Buffett's selling his stake. This is really bad news. Warren Buffett's a huge reason why I'm in the stock. Well, relax, because yeah, it's 7 million shares, nothing to scoff at certainly. But as far as the entire stake goes, that is a pretty minuscule portion.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking in the single-digit percentages.
He's not going to be exiting the position anytime soon. He would certainly have to, do these kinds of filings if he were to liquidate his position. He would have to do the same kind of press releases, same kind of filings here. It's not going to just be like suddenly you walk into your desk and see that Warren Buffett sold his 256 million shares of Wells Fargo. It's not going to happen that quickly. It's going to take some time. But, using the Benzinga Pro calendar and kind of in tandem with the news feed here, now that maybe this isn't the greatest news for Wells Fargo for somebody trading it tomorrow, but long term, I wouldn't be exactly hugely concerned.
Excellent. I appreciate that. I see here that we do have a couple questions coming in. So we are going to get to those as we move forward. Brent, would you like to maybe move us around a little bit of another fund and
Sure.
Why it's so, and I guess, a lot of the buzz around the Benzinga office is, a lot of, Warren Buffett, for instance, the amazing thing that you can see is each move that someone or a fund of, a larger fund, any moves that they make in the market, they have to file.
Yep.
So, if the big boys are moving some money around, most likely, not every time, but most likely the stock is going to reflect in a very similar direction as their play, correct?
Correct. And I mean, we could pull up the chart. Let's see if we can, the press release here did have a date. Let me just pull it up. See if I can pull it up really quickly. Just a little test of Benzinga Pro. So let's see, pull up Wells Fargo. It looks like this was a press release that did not hit our wire. Must have hit elsewhere. So I was trying to find the date that he was selling these. I believe he sold these over the last 2 sessions or so. And I was gonna let's pull up a chart here, and maybe we can just do the 5-day chart. So, theoretically, we should see Warren Buffett's 7 million shares or so being sold over the course of the last couple of days. And I mean, the stock's down from a high of about 55, 60, down to almost $53 over the last few sessions. So yeah, it looks like, that selling pressure was reflected in the stock over the last few days.
Excellent. As far as I see a question that came across is how much computer resources does this application use? Great question. I guess trying to understand exactly the type of resources that you are referring to. It is a cloud-based website, so you don't need to download an app or add anything onto your computer. I'll tell you this: if you got internet that is able to keep your Twitter or Facebook, without lagging, it should be able to power this in real time.
Yep. And our developers have done just a fantastic job. I don't know if you guys noticed it as we were kind of walking through, but there's been a few times that Mike or I have been going over some things, and the feed required the population of some more headlines, some more data, some more stories, it does it like a snap. It does it really quickly. That's what the developers have worked really hard to improve the performance on, and they're doing a really good job lately, and it's working really good. So I wouldn't be super concerned about the performance as far as, you know, the platform bogging your system down, honestly.
And, you know, we've already been up here talking for about 40 minutes. You know, please drop any questions in that you guys have. You know, we're here to make sure you guys are able to leverage all the tools that are out there to give you an edge. But I don't want to bore you guys with too much more. One thing I do want to point out is there are some unique alerting features that we do have, whether it would be sound alert, real-time emails, or setting up your watch list to get those alerts. You'll see here, if I wanted a daily, I get a daily email summary sent to me each day that is gives me a snapshot of my portfolio, tells me any key headlines that I may have missed, and then tells me about if I had any big gainers or big losers in my stocks and why.
So remember when I was showing everyone a little bit earlier some of in the settings, you can go over here and you can set some colors, and you know, I want busy signals to be green. I said it's very hard to miss, right? Well, it's not impossible to miss, that's for sure. If you didn't happen to be looking at your pro feed at the time, that's going to be an issue. If you have it minimized, that's going to be an issue. However, what Mike just discussed as far as alerts go, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. As far as alerts go, if you set a sound alert to a ticker or to a news category or to a watch list, and you don't even have to have the pro feed open on your screen. You just have to have it minimized. If you have it minimized, it's on your computer, but not necessarily on your screen. You're gonna get an alert. It's gonna make a sound. It's gonna make a teardrop sound, or it's gonna make a cha-ching, a dollar sign sound kind of thing. And that's as long as you remember what sound you set for what category of news or what watch list or which ticker. When you hear that cha-ching for the dollar sign, you know that it's a dividend news item, or you know that it's some M&A news or a rumor.
Excellent. Great, great description. Two quick questions that came in.
I like questions.
We are, so with the ticker that is scrolling at the bottom.
Turn that off. Turn that thing back on.
Yep. We do not have the ability to have that filter out through our watch list. It is coming. I would say, you know, users would probably have to wait at least 60 to 90 days until we are able to set the custom tickers down here to your personal portfolio or your watch list.
However, sort of as a little teaser, and maybe as a bit of a workaround, some exciting development updates recently that we did. One of them happened to be, and actually, let me see if this works. I want to try something real quick, Mike. See if this thing can work. Oh, you know what? Sweet. This is what I wanted to show. It's really small right now. Let me see if I can make it bigger really quick for that user who was asking Hunter. So you can't customize it right now, like I think how you want to customize it. However, what you can do, this is just a feature that was just added, is if you search a ticker in your main newsfeed window, it's going to add it down here in the widget, in the scrolling ticker. So I know it's not exactly what you're looking for, but if you're really dying for it, there is a solution. I would recommend that you kind of go through and, you know, add a lot of the tickers that you might want to watch to the news feed, and then really quickly remove them, and it should pop them up down there.
Excellent. So next one, Brent, I would say is a little more in your wheelhouse. Okay. So if you don't mind answering Colin's question, Colin, really appreciate, great question.
Yeah.
As someone who is on the product side, I get this question asked to me 2-3 times a day.
Right. Okay. So the question is, again, really good question, Colin. Thanks for your input here. Optional alerts like a call sweep at the bid versus at the ask. Should I assume a sweep at the ask is bullish and a call sweep at the bid is bearish because someone is selling those calls? Ooh, this is a really good one. So I think what's important here, I'll answer your question directly, but I think what's important to note here is that with options, you're doing a lot of assuming. You can make some really good assumptions. However, we don't really necessarily know what's going on behind the scenes, meaning somebody that is selling a call, meaning they're making a bearish bet, might be hedging an upside bet for some other reason. So in other words, let's say, there's a huge buyer of Ford. Let's say, okay, let me start with, let's say there's a huge seller of Ford calls. Well, they may be selling those calls in order to protect their massive long bet that they have on Ford stock. So you can sort of like, kind of work your way through it. If you can figure out who an investor, a big institutional investor who might be able to make that big of a bet, you can sort of deduce who it might be coming from, but for the most part, you're making a lot of assumptions. As far as your question really quickly, and just to say it again, should I assume a sweep at the ask is bullish and a call sweep at the bid is bearish because someone is selling those calls? Yes, that is a good assumption. So the other side of that would be if you see a put sweep at the bid, that would be a bearish. If you see a put sweep at the ask, that would probably be some kind of bullish indication.
Excellent. Great questions, guys. We don't really have too much more for you. This is a weekly series that we're doing. So, we're looking for feedback on topics you guys would like to talk about, whether it's rumors, if you guys would like to just talk about the BZ signals, block trades, or if you guys would like to take a deeper dive into our calendars or, setting up the watch list or anything like that. Please, drop us a note, drop us a line, or give us a call. You can see our phone number is right here. You can always ask for myself, Mike Marshall. I will also drop in my email right here, and I will be following up with everyone to make sure that you guys are taking a taking advantage of the free 10-day trial. Hunter, we do offer a free trial to try out the platform for a period of time. Make sure you guys are leveraging the tools that are out there. Brent, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I have a lot of stuff I want to add, but I would say let's save it for next week's webinar. As you said, this is going to be something weekly. Send Mike any topic ideas. If there was stuff that we didn't get to today that you guys would have really loved for us to talk about, then send that idea to Mike. We'll definitely consider if we want to put it in, find some time to put it in next week's webinar. And just kind of want to reiterate, this is very interactive, so keep the questions coming. If you guys like something that we're talking about, let us know. We can keep talking about it. If you find yourself listening to stuff that you're not exactly interested in, let us know. We'll move away from that topic quicker and definitely keep the questions flowing in, because we really want this to be about the users. We really want to make sure you guys are understanding how you use the platform to best suit your trading strategy.
Perfect. Brent, once again, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be with us.
Yeah, no problem.